Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to a very special episode of Second Take Cinema. This is, in theory, a very special episode because this is Rory's birthday.
Way!
Happy birthday to you, etc., etc.,
21 today.
Tell them the truth, Rory.
25.
The truth, Rory.
29.
The truth.
35?
No, I want you to come back and go, you can't handle the truth. You failed the bit. Anyway.
And I'm not 35, I'm 37.
So in theory, this is a birthday special.
Yes.
It may not be a birthday special if we haven't actually started releasing by that point.
Well, no, you can release it earlier in the line then, can't
Well,
you?
in theory, we will start releasing the show by then. But depending on how much more delays are caused by Haunted, we might not.
No, just cancel Haunted.
Yeah, right. Right.
I'm only kidding, people.
Anyway, so on today's episode, we're actually doing two films. We're doing a double bill. Today, we are talking two different films. Two films that might seem to have very little in common at first, but we'll see if they actually have more in common than you might think. The first is our first ever television film that we've talked about on this here show.
It is on Blu-ray. It was shot on film, but it is shot for a 4:3 ratio. So
it aired on TV.
And aired on TV.
And you can still see where the commercial breaks went.
Yeah, whereas now for the commercials.
Yeah. But this is from 1974. This is Pray for the Wildcats.
Yes.
Directed by Robert Michael Lewis, written by Jack Turley, starring the aforementioned William Shatner, Andy Griffith, Robert Reed, Marjo Gortner, Angie Dickinson, Janet Margolin, and Lorraine Gary. Now, as this is a TV movie, I don't have any box office information for it.
No.
Unfortunately, and there's actually no information on viewing figures or anything like that. I think given its age, things like that weren't really noted as much back then.
I did find one thing, though, again, because it's IMDb trivia, it may not be as accurate as one would like, but the one thing I could find about in terms of success, at least, was where people do this all the time because obviously William Shatner is famous for Star Trek, and at the time there was so this aired at the same time as a new series pilot called The Quester Tapes, which was by Gene Roddenberry, the man who created Star Trek. Basically, you ended up with William Shatner versus Gene Roddenberry. According to this, Shatner won. Pray for the Wildcats garnered a big audience and a big cult following. Now, it doesn't actually link to anywhere which references how it knows that with the numbers. Obviously, the Questor Tapes didn't become a massive series in the same way Star Trek did, but then neither did this. This was never going to. It was a standalone made-for-TV movie. So I don't really know where they're getting that comparison from, but that's the closest I could find. Okay. Was that the Questor Tapes aired at the same time, and according to whoever wrote this, this beat it outright in terms of popularity.
And our second movie is a theatrical release from ye old year of 2007. This is technically a Disney production, although it's made via Touchstone Pictures and then distributed through Buena Vista.
Yep.
Buena Vista.
Buena Vista usually used to release some of the stuff that was more niche within Disney's catalogue. Yeah. And again, you're going to hate me for having raised it again, but it is relevant.
Star Trek.
No. Super Mario Brothers from 1993 was released through Buena Vista because it was part funded by Disney, but it didn't come out as a quote-unquote Disney property. It came out through...
Disney took one look at that thing and went, hell no. Hell no.
Probably, yeah.
This is the biker comedy Wild Hogs.
Wild Hogs!
Directed by Walt Becker, starring Tim Allen. John Travolta, Grease Lightning. Martin
Are we going to do this for all of them?
No, because I am not doing an impression of Martin Lawrence.
Good idea.
Especially because I'm uncultured and the only other thing I know Martin Lawrence from is Big Mama's House.
Right, no, yeah.
Because I've never seen Bad Boys.
No, well, we could sing Bad Boys, Bad Boys.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?
There you go, we've done it.
William H. Macy, great actor.
Yes.
Marisa Tomei, great actor, Oscar-winning actress.
Yep.
Literally her career took a real spike because she was in this one year, and literally the following year was in The Wrestler, which she's amazing in.
Yes.
I think that might be actually what she won her Oscar for.
Yeah,
is
The Wrestler is an incredible movie.
Jill Hennessy and Ray Liotta, may he rest in peace.
And he was fantastic in this as well.
Slightly miscast. He's great in it. He's great, but that New York Italian accent keeps coming through. Like he's meant to be like a West Coast biker, but you keep hearing that Goodfellas accent.
Got some balls,
guys. Get some coffee for these wild hogs. So, Wild Hogs, we do have box office information for. It was released in 2007. Its budget was $60 million, and it made $253.6 million. Definitely a financial success. In fact, it opened opposite Zodiac, the film directed by David Fincher, starring Mark Ruffalo, Robert Downey Jr., and Jake Gyllenhaal.
Not really the same audience, I think.
No. Well, this outperformed it massively. It tripled.
Wild Hogs!
It tripled the debut of Zodiac.
Good. No, that's not fair. I like David Fincher's films. I just like Wild Hogs a lot.
I do, but you know what? I don't like Zodiac.
No?
I
haven't seen Zodiac yet,
I don't think I've ever made it to the end. I've always turned it off halfway through because it's so fucking boring.
Oh, wow. That's not normal for a David Fincher film.
No,
they're quite gripping.
Yeah, I usually really like David Fincher films. Zodiac just does not grip me. Maybe it's just because when I see Robert Downey and Mark Ruffalo on a screen, I want them to be Iron Man and Hulk and not whatever the fuck they are in Zodiac. Anyway, Wild Hogs, however, has a really bad critical reception. I'm going to bring this up because I suspect in a minute when I ask you why you picked this might be part of the reason why. Wild Hogs is, although it was a success, so clearly someone went to see it.
A lot of people went to see it.
Culturally, it is remembered as shit. Most people, if you bring up Wild Hogs, will be like, oh, God, yeah. 14% on Rotten Tomatoes out of 145 reviews.
That's stupid.
The site's critical consensus reads, Wild Hogs is a dreadful combination of fish-out-of-water jokes, slapstick comedy, and lazy stereotypes.
Why is slapstick comedy considered a negative nowadays?
At one point it was. We went through a phase where it really was.
Yeah, and that's pathetic. Like, we went from going, oh, this skill that requires some talent, we're going to replace all of that with stuff that's like in The Office, where someone just says something stupid and everyone just looks at camera and goes,
but remember, Rory, at some point...
No skill required.
At some point, people thought puns were actually humorous.
Puns are cool.
On Metacritic...
You've also got to remember, people thought gross-out humour was funny, because in the early to mid-2000s, bear in mind...
This is my point, we move on. And now we're in an age where you can't have any comedy.
Yeah, American Pie was considered a really clever, intelligent, and funny film, and it's
This
garbage.
is what I'm saying, things age.
Yeah.
Comedy ages faster than most.
Well, I will admit, Wild Hogs, some of its jokes have aged. We'll get to that when we get to it.
In terms of some of its more popular comments, though, because it did get some, Ty Burr of the Boston Globe compared the film's merits to its titular motorcycles, believing it to be a bumptious weekend ride. Is bumptious a word?
It is now.
A bumptious weekend ride. The engine could use tuning and the plugs are shot, but it'll get you most of the way there. Although writing a negative review, Burr offered praise for the film's final act, believing it takes a satisfying turn, and that with the exception of Tim Allen, each of the film's primary cast members earns their designated chuckle. He also favourably compared the film to RV, which was another comedy film focusing on a road trip.
That was Robin Williams as well.
Yeah, I haven't seen RV, but I know that's also regarded as being pretty bad.
So I did watch RV because there was a point where I was trying to catch up on Robin Williams movies, and I saw some amazing ones, and I saw RV. And it's not an amazing film by a long shot. It's all right. I think it's like, from what I recall of RV, I haven't seen RV. This was about 5 to 10 years ago, but from what I recall of RV, It was one of those films where it's like you can put it on, have it on in the background while you do your ironing, and it would be enjoyable, but it's not going to blow your mind.
Yeah.
That's what I recall of it. Anyway.
The last thing to read here was this fella here. My God, did he predict exactly how well Wild Hogs would do. Dennis Harvey of Variety said, uninspired script and broad slapstick yucks won't earn this any plaudits, but slick, safe package should do okay with the North American mall audience. And it did.
Yeah.
That's where that 253 million comes from.
It is indeed.
And last little bit of trivia, did you know that the Hells Angels tried to sue it?
Yes, because they thought the Del Fuegos was too close to their brand. This is one of many films where this is something that people don't know about the Hells Angels.
They claimed their logo was in the film as well.
Right.
But it's not.
No, it's not.
And the suit was dismissed.
So this is something people don't actually know about the Hells Angels. People in the film industry are terrified of them, not because of the main reasons we'd be...
Because they're going to kneecap you, buddy.
Yeah. But no, it's not because of that, because they sue films all the time. Yeah. Anytime there's a biker movie, the Hells Angels are like, hey, you've stolen our thing. It's like, mate, there's bikers everywhere, dude.
Which, given that this is given that Wild Hogs is a film that revolves around what is and isn't a poser, way to be posers, Hells Angels.
Yeah, it's like, we're outlaws, sue them, motherfuckers.
So you
Get the suits in here.
So you picked both of these films, Rory.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us a bit about? Do you want to tell us a bit about why you chose Wild Hogs and Pray for the Wildcats?
Sure. So, I mean, the connections between these two films are kind of tentative on the surface. There's, it's about a group of 4 male friends going on a bike journey together. That's about as close as they get in terms of their real consistent narrative. Pray for the Wildcats on some of its reviews or some of its critical consideration online. It generally gets compared more with Deliverance and things like that because it's how it goes terribly wrong and it's got a much more, let's say, deadly ending to its drama. Whereas Wild Hogs is an all-out comedy. So in terms of tone, they're very different. But the basics are there. The reason that I found them comparable was not only because of that surface level stuff, but because of how I expected to be met by Pray for the Wildcats. So I watched Wild Hogs in cinemas when it was current with my dad. I thought it was fucking awesome. I enjoyed that film. It was brilliant. I laughed my ass off the whole time, and I watch it religiously every single year, at least, if not more, because I absolutely adore that film.
Yeah, I like that with Serendipity.
Yeah, there are some films that aren't, don't get me wrong, it's not like cinematic gold. You're not going to go, oh, you must see Wild Hogs because it will change your perception on this. It's a popcorn comedy. But I went in knowing that's what it was. I got what I paid for, and then some. So I thoroughly enjoyed myself. When it came to Pray for the Wildcats, it's a film from 1974. I wasn't born yet, even as old as I am. And so I caught it on Blu-ray, which my mum got it for my dad about a year ago. And she was like, oh, we can't play this because she had to import it. It's a Region A disc. So I had to rip it and make a Region B copy for my dad. And since I had it on digital, I thought, sorry, I might as well watch it. And I expected from this film, because, let me put it this way, without knowing anything about the film, if I tell you William Shatner biker movie, you're thinking of comedy, even if it's not intentional. You're thinking he's going to be Shatnering all over that bike. Just be like, because we have all seen the worst elements of Shatnerian acting, specifically from season 3 of TOS. I'm alone. And I expected him to be like that, but with a motorcycle. And I didn't get that. The film was a surprise to me because I expected something crap. And also bear in mind, during the 70s was the time where there was a lot of schlock movies being made because movie making became considerably cheaper. It became easier for lower budget movies to get made. And so a lot of biker movies spawned out of the popularity of the Wild one from the 50s. A lot of biker movies of the 70s tended to be like murder. See, like, I'm getting my revenge. I was a biker. I got run off the road or something, or someone killed my wife, and then I'm murdering all the other evil bikers. That tended to be the quite common narrative of biker movies during the 70s. This is not that. And what I didn't expect to be met by was a narrative that is anti-capitalism and is very open on the fact that it basically states that narcissism within capitalistic business is endemic, and when you can remove the person at the top and there'll just be another one to follow. And how nepotism gets sort of played in. Everyone just gets sucked in and keeps their mouth shut to appease those at the top. A lot of depth from a film that, when I first heard it, was William Shatner biker film. I did not expect that level of depth. So I kind of wanted Pray for the Wildcats, because it's a forgotten movie, really, let's be honest. It's not,
I'd never heard of it.
Yeah, there'd be a few people that I know within the film industry, maybe, or certainly within the biker frame, but in general, the public does not know Pray for the Wildcats. And I kind of wanted it to get a reappraisal because it surprised me so much. Whereas Wild Hogs, I think, gets unfairly driven down in terms of critical reception. Again, not stating that it's, cinematic gold. But I do think people are overly hostile in very unfair ways to that film. So it's kind of, I'm trying to do a mutual reappraisal of two films that have, in a very thinly veiled sense, a similar theme. But one I want to try and elevate to people should kind of know about Pray for the Wildcats. And the other one is saying, I think people should be a little bit more, respectful is not the right word, but maybe a bit more open to Wild Hogs not being as shit as it seems to have been named in the zeitgeist.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll get to the details of those as we get to them.
Okay. So, as always, ladies and gentlemen, we will be spoiling both movies. So if you're particularly interested in being surprised by the plots, turn off now, because here be spoilers.
There'll be whales here. Oh, that's Star Trek again.
Here be spoilers.
There be spoilers.
So let's start with Pray for the Wildcats.
Yeah.
So I'd never seen this before. To sum it up for everyone, basically this is... So unlike Wild Hogs, which is about four friends going on a biker trip, and then they meet a villain, in this film, the villain's already in the house. Dun, dun, dun! So it's three advertising executives.
Yeah, working for an agency.
And one of their biggest clients is a guy called Sam Farragut.
Yep, Sam Farragut.
I kept thinking it sounded like Farage and kept thinking, oh, this is Nigel Farage.
It could
And
be,
then he nearly rapes a woman, and I was like,
It's
Nigel
definitely
Farage. We're not disparaging anyone. We can't be sued.
We're not
for
disparaging
slander.
anyone.
We can't be sued for slander or libel.
Yeah, we can. I think we should say that was a joke, and we do not know whether or not Nigel Farage has ever ravaged anyone.
Sidebar. Do you know what one of my favourite underrated jokes in a film is?
Go on, then.
It's in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man.
What, the first one?
I can't remember if it's the first or second one, but I think it is the first one, though, because I think it's the first time J. Jonah Jameson publishes an article that's about Spider-Man's a menace.
Right.
And Peter Parker, obviously, is like, but that's slander, you can't do that. He goes, hey, I resent that. In print, it's libel. I don't know why, I just like that.
It is a good line, though. That's a good line.
It's the way J.K. Simmons plays it as well.
Yeah, J.K. Simmons absolutely fucking rocks that role.
Oh, to the point where they had to bring him back in the MCU.
Yeah, who are they going to replace him with?
Yeah, you couldn't replace him. But anyway, basically, this Sam Farragut is doing a marketing campaign based around Baja in Mexico.
Yeah, so the company is like a industrial company, and it's using their equipment in the harshest conditions. So they're doing this advertising campaign of the Farragut Enterprises like machinery versus the wild Baja region of Mexico. But in order to kind of get a feel for the place, really he just wants to go on a trip with the boys again, and they don't want to go.
Forces them, doesn't
yeah,
he?
and this is how he forces them. He uses his business as a way to coerce people into doing what he wants.
Yeah, he basically threatens to pull his account.
Yeah.
Along the way, we also realise that William Shatner, whose character is called Warren.
Yeah, Warren Summerfield.
Yeah. He has actually lost his job and has failed to get another job that he's gone for.
Yeah, it's quickly suggested that Farragut has basically tried to out him. He doesn't want him there anymore, but for the sake of the agency want him to... The agency want to save face, so basically they want it to look like everything's normal until the day he's gone.
Yeah.
So he's sort of torn between the two, and he starts doing things like getting doctor's checkups and stuff.
To get a life insurance
policy.
But basically, he's going to top himself.
Yeah, now, that's actually a twist that happens later for me. When I watched it the first time, I was like, oh, he must be sick. Or there must be something like, why are they trying to out him? It takes a while for them to make it clear that he's been fired.
Yeah.
They kind of swan around it a little bit at the beginning. So at first, I thought he might be... he might have cancer or something like that. But then the doctor is like, you seem to be wasting my time. Everything's all good. But there's little hints. Now, this is something I really loved about Pray for the Wildcats. It has a really clever script and a really beautifully written script from time to time in a dark way. And one of the first arrivals of that is when William Shatner is getting his checkup from the doctor. And the doctor shows him an x-ray of his chest. And I don't know why he's got an x-ray of his chest, because it doesn't actually explain why they would have done that, because he's got a clean bill of health. But either way, he shows him the x-ray of his chest, and then he looks at it and just goes, we're not so beautiful on the inside, are we?
Not so pretty.
Not so pretty on the inside. Yeah. And that's obviously a hint to the fact that this guy is feeling some dark shit.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that.
Yeah, and here we come to our first disagreement with the film.
Okay.
Because that is a fucking awful line.
Why?
I hated it.
Why?
It's the way it's done. It blatantly felt like it feels like a reshoot. Okay. The way it's edited into the end of the scene.
Okay.
Because the scene has ended. The scene is over. And William Shatner's clearly stopped acting. The doctor's gone to walk off. And then we cut to another angle of Shatner. And he just says this line, which it's not original to this film. Like, variations of this I've heard in a billion other things. I didn't say it was
a unique line. By this point, there probably is nothing unique in film. But
no. But it just felt, to me, it just feels really awkwardly tacked on. What I thought was a much better line comes in the following scene.
Okay.
Which is when, I think it's William Shatner, but I actually now forget. It might be the other guy, the tall guy with the curly hair. But it's one of the men talking to their wife, and she says to him, Farragut isn't an account, it's a way of life.
Yeah, so that is the tall guy. That's Angie Dickinson talking to... what was this actor's name? Another famous actor. I know the guy you mean.
Yeah.
Let me get his name.
He's very tall, isn't he?
Robert Reed.
Robert Reed.
Yeah.
I thought that was a much smarter line,
okay.
and was making the point of the film much more clear.
They were aiming for two different things, because obviously the one that Shatner was using was to refer to his own depression, whereas the one that Robert Reed and Angie Dickinson are referring to is a discussion really about the destruction of the personal lives of people around people like Sam Farragut. How people in charge, narcissistic people in charge, will manipulate those around them, even in their home time. Yeah. That's highlighted at the beginning as well with Bill Shatner when basically says you have to wait until we're back at the office to get your pound of flesh.
Yes.
So
he's trying to get him to. Yeah. I think the other problem that I have with the line. And yes, he's not Shatnering all over this film, but Shatner, in my opinion, cannot deliver what is supposed to be profound dialogue.
Okay.
It always sounds ridiculous coming from him. And that's not just in this film. That's any role I have ever seen William Shatner in.
I don't think I agree with you on that. I think that might be overly harsh. I will admit it's rare. I will admit that. But there are certain occasions where it always comes down to how well directed he is. William Shatner is definitely a man whose acting is at its best when he's got a director that really knows how to utilize him. Bringing back again, Wrath of Khan tends to be like his acting in that is exceptional. But it was a director that knew how to use him and how to work him. So that he has a couple of, I don't know if profound might be the right word for these, but certainly after Spock's death at the funeral, things like that, you can't get better acting than that. There's no one who could have acted that scene better than William Shatner did. And it's not a case of that William Shatner is the best actor in the world. It's that he is a good actor when you know how to use him. And the problem is a lot of directors don't. Because this was said by that director, he comes in with super high energy to get the more, to get the subtlety out of him. You have to get by take 25. He's sort of started to mellow into a groove. You probably get it by take 35.
Yeah. So obviously, I'm not overly familiar with Star Trek, but I am familiar with TOS.
Yes,
and I always felt that when you want the profound dialogue, you go to DeForest Kelley.
What, McCoy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Found he was much better. Whenever they're meant to have come to some sort of profound realization, it was either him or sometimes Spock, to be honest.
Spock could do profound.
But don't get me wrong, I like William Shatner in Star Trek. I quite like Captain Kirk, but not for the profound bits. He was always there for me as the Hollywood action hero type thing. It's lots of, I
always tended to find that he could do profound dialogue if he underplayed it.
Yeah.
Not when it was like his profound line, because he'd always play it as this is the profound line. But
and that's how I feel he played this.
Oh, that's fair. That's a fair comment. I will say
felt
that's
like
a
he
fair
read
comment.
it and went, oh.
And the
deep
thing
meaning
is, though,
here.
to be fair to him, like he probably did this film because it's a made-for-TV movie. He probably did this film because he liked those lines, because he does have a few elements of profound dialogue.
Is this not that I don't know if you're an expert in Bill Shatner's career, but is this a down point in his career? Because this is between TOS and the Star Trek movies, and I think this is before he was doing TJ Hooker as well.
He had success with TJ Hooker as well, didn't he? I think TJ Hooker was afterwards though.
That was the 80s, wasn't it? TJ Hooker,
early 80s. Or was it just before this? Let me just try and find out when. Because if I can find TJ Hooker, then I know where he is his career.
Because I kind of have a suspicion that this might have been a bit of a down point in his career.
It might have been. He was also in Police Squad.
Ah.
He was one of the people that gets murdered at the beginning.
Right.
Because he was a celebrity. Got murdered. So it looks like this might be during one of the downturns. The Star Trek the Animated Series was going on at this point. So, but that was kind of a stopgap because no one had any money. So I think this was during one of his downturns.
Right.
But either way, that doesn't necessarily, because I don't think William Shatner was ever the sort of man who just took crap.
Right.
Like, that doesn't necessarily mean that everything he picked was gold, but I actually think he was a man who picked roles because they had something specific to say.
Okay.
At this point in his career, he could have just done schlock because he had already been Captain Kirk. And with the fact the animated series got made, because by that point, there'd already been a big fan backlash to bring Star Trek back. So the fact that animated series was going means that he already had a growing popularity again from the Star Trek fan base.
Yeah.
Which means he could have done anything. The fact that he chose to do this is not something you do if you can't be asked. Because he did a lot of his own riding as well.
Yeah.
Did a lot of his own stunt riding. Don't get me wrong. There's obviously
not a lazy performance.
No. And he does try it in a lot of these scenes. A lot of his acting is very good. It doesn't feel like a half-ass sort of, fuck it, I'll just cash in the paycheck sort of role.
Yeah.
I think he got interested in this because of the profound dialogue. And that's... And I do see your point. That line can be read as, ooh, profound. Let me be profound now.
Yeah.
And again, I think Shatner does that better when he underplays it.
Yeah. So another big negative in this film for me, although this may, to give it the benefit of the doubt, could be more to do with the time it was made, is the heavy-handed use of auditory flashbacks.
Yes, so I think that might have been a product of its time. Not necessarily, though that would seem like a lazy way to just go, yeah, that's what they all did. I think there's a mixture of things. Number one, a product of its time, 1974, they hadn't yet, gotten certain cinematic ideas mastered yet. But I think also some of that is a little bit lazy because there's
multiple characters it happens to as well.
Yeah.
It happens to Angie Dickinson's character.
Yep, it happens to Shatner's character.
Shatner and to the villain as well.
And also the young... In fact, the only one of the main character it doesn't happen to is Robert Reed.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I think he does have it at one point.
No, I don't think
he does.
But the thing is, especially in the case of the younger guy with the curly hair, it's literally an auditory flashback of a scene that happened 10 minutes earlier. It's like, guys, we know.
So I think the reason for that, part of that reason for that is a little bit lazy writing. However, I think some of that might be because it was made for TV. As we said, there's certain points where
People might have tuned in after a first commercial.
Yeah,
break.
yeah. Or you might just, you need a reminder. By the way, you've spent 5 minutes of commercials. Now, by the way, this guy has thought this. It does feel heavy-handed when it's edited back together into its film format. And to be honest, you could probably have saved about 10... It's an hour and 40 minutes long. You could probably have saved about 10 minutes by trimming down a little bit of the biking bits and those auditory flashbacks.
A lot of the start could have gone.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the film doesn't get going, at least for me it didn't. The film doesn't get going until they make it to the first town.
Yeah.
And they're in the bar drinking.
Yes. Now, that I will say that, from my experience, is very common of 70s movies. That was very common with... so there's... I've mentioned it before. There's an amazing film called Wages of Fear that was made in the 50s, I think, or might be 60s. I remember being surprised it was as late as it was because it's black and white. But Wages of Fear is an incredible movie. It's got quite a slow-paced start. When they did, William Friedkin, who made The Exorcist, actually did a remake of Wages of Fear in the 70s called Sorcerer. And for me, the benefit of doing the remake would be to tighten up the bits that didn't quite hit the nail on the head in Wages of Fear. Sorcerer is also a shiter name, by the way. Should have kept Wages of Fear. But anyway... But he didn't trim down the intro. In fact, if anything, I liked the way the intro was done less in Sorcerer, because you got to know a lot more about the characters, which you didn't really need in the way that it was done. But it sort of flashes in, like you get 5 minutes. This is how this is who this guy is and why he's on the island. This is who this guy is and why he's on the island. Ironically, a bit like Wild Hogs, which starts off with like, here's a clip. Oh, by the way, here's who John Travolta's character is. This is where Tim Allen's character is. This is where this character is. It does that, but for longer.
Yeah.
Because it's a more serious storyline. It seemed to be a common thing in the 70s that the beginning of your film was a bit of a slower burn.
Yeah.
Duel, which was Steven Spielberg's first movie, which was also originally a made-for-TV movie. Yeah. He then added some additional scenes to do a feature length for it. I've got that on Blu-ray as well. That one also has a very slow start. It seems to be... I can't think of a 70s movie I've watched that, like, kind of jumps straight off the line. Apart from maybe Vanishing Point, but I haven't seen that for a long while.
Halloween
is 79, though. You're getting towards the tail end.
Oh, yeah, but it's still 70s.
I understand,
but it literally starts with a little boy killing his sister.
But that's post-Star Wars. And I think
yeah, but you said 70s.
That is fair.
Don't change your goalposts.
No, that's fair play. But
I get what you mean.
Yeah.
You do get this effect.
This was
you get this
pre-Star
effect.
Wars.
Yeah.
And Star Wars sort of, I think one of the reasons...
filmmaking.
It did change it a lot.
This is pre-Jaws.
Yes.
It's a year before Jaws.
If it's pre-Duel. And Duel came out before Jaws.
Well, Jaws is 75, so what year was Duel?
Duel was...
Or was Jaws 85? No, it's 75.
No, Duel was Steven Spielberg's first film, so it's definitely not 6.
So Duel must
71.
be before this.
It is before this.
Yeah, because Jaws
71.
is definitely 75.
Right. I haven't seen Jaws for ages.
I've only ever seen... Very quick sidebar that no one cares about. I went decades of my life without seeing Jaws. Do you know why? Because I don't find sharks scary at all.
No.
In fact, pretty much... If you made a list of films I would be least interested in seeing...
They'd almost all have sharks.
It would pretty much be westerns, biker movies, and sharks.
Right.
They're like the three topics I just could not care less about.
Sure.
I actually finally watched Jaws year before last. I had to spend a night in hospital because I had a bit of a health scare. And I couldn't sleep because they'd hooked me up to all these machines. And you can't sleep. I was on the turnover ward all night,
right.
So there was constantly people coming in and out.
Sure.
So I watched Jaws on Netflix on my phone.
Was it good?
It was all right. I mean, I can see why it was so impressive at the time it came out. Yeah. Obviously, it's aged now.
Yeah, I think that's...
There was a jump scare, the bit where the body floats in at the when they go down, they dive. Got me with the jump scare. I was not expecting it.
Got pulled out of all the machines.
Well, it was a heart monitor I was hooked up to, so it suddenly goes, and I'm like, oh shit, they're going to come here and be like, oh my god, he's dead. Anyway.
But it is interesting, because this was early 70s. For TV as well, let's be clear. It wasn't made for cinema release.
No, and they generally speaking, or generally, not always.
Certainly in the 70s
I've seen some made-for-TV movies I really like, but generally speaking, the accepted wisdom is that made-for-TV movies aren't as good.
It's different nowadays because of streaming.
Movies. Yeah.
Like the amount of money and stuff they spend, but generally back certainly in the 70s all the way up to probably the last 10 years.
Yeah.
It changed because of Breaking Bad, I think, specifically.
When
but
TV became a thing.
Yeah, but before that point, anything that was made for TV shows and made for TV movies was like, how can we do this for 5p? Like, how can we do this for no money? And so you didn't get the cream of the crop, not unless you were very lucky and it was their first ever movie. So most of the big cinematic ideas, like ways to push cinema forward, wasn't going to happen in this format. And Pray for the Wildcats, obviously, it doesn't happen in this format because it's not the format for it. I still think it did very well with what it tried to do. It is, I did tell you before we started, the beginning is a slow burn.
Yeah.
But I think that is something that is generally true of 70s movies.
Yeah. So, basically, I don't like the film.
Okay.
It has bits that I do like.
Okay, what sort of bits?
And nearly all of those bits are when it actually tries to make tension. So when they are in the bar with there's the girl,
the dancing girl,
and you could see that Andy Griffith, Sam, thank you. You could see that Andy Griffith is getting. I both liked and disliked Andy Griffith as a character. His performance is pretty good. I liked that. He is a little cartoonishly evil. And there's no reason for him to be evil that we're ever given.
Did you miss the whole... That's the whole point of it. People with that much power who have that much control over other people...
are automatically evil.
They're narcissistic, so of course he felt entitled to her. That was the whole point. He felt entitled to their time.
Yeah.
So when William Shatner told him, I'm not going on the Baja trip, he got super offended and threatened to pull his business because he's a narcissist. I'm the guy in charge, and he plays the whole fucking, I'm just a country boy here, you're not talking about big business, but he's not just a country boy. Yeah. He's a guy who's demanding all of your time, and he demands all the time of the rest. So they have no time with their wives or girlfriends. They've got no time to develop themselves because even their free time has to all be about him.
Yeah.
And that's why when they get to Baja and they find the girl at the bar and he starts deciding I'm entitled. I'm in Mexico. These are just Mexican people, or they're just hippies. You hear him say it, even when he connects to people on that level. I'm a hippie too. You can trust me. And then when the hippie says no, it's me. Goddamn hippies.
That was the other scene I liked.
Yeah.
Is when he goes and literally tries to buy the girl.
Yeah, he tries to pay the hippie guy to have sex with his girlfriend as if she's a cheap prostitute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And can't understand when the guy says no.
Yeah.
And then freaks out.
And then he's like, how much money will it cost to do business? It's not a case of there's a morality here. It's just, oh, come on, there's got to be a price to let me rape your girlfriend. And
then the film makes a really interesting choice where it doesn't have him directly kill them.
No.
And this is why I don't like the film. I feel like the film sets up a bunch of interest. So, do you remember when it ended?
Yeah.
When he dies, spoiler, I turned to you and was like, is that it? Is it over? That's because I felt that the film had set up a bunch of interesting things to talk about.
Okay.
And then instead decided, oh no, let's just do a bike fight and drop him off a cliff. I was a bit like, what? Because I thought we were going to talk about... Because most other films... Even me, I'll even admit, I probably would have had him actually kill them. I would have had him literally hit the guy with his axe.
Yeah, and then maybe have the woman run off into the desert to escape, and then she dies that way.
Yeah, or if you want to be a real schlocky filmmaker, literally have him rape her, which is clearly what he's trying to do. And back then, obviously not made for TV films, but 70s era exploitation films, you definitely would have had the rape scene. And it would have been uncomfortably long.
This was in a weird time frame because there was a lot of dark exploitation films, but this, obviously being a TV movie, never got to hit that bar.
Yeah. And then obviously you've got the younger gentleman whose name I can't remember, but the one with the curly hair who thinks his wife's
Terry.
pregnant, Terry.
Yeah.
He's having because he's kind of an accomplice to it.
Yeah, because he didn't really try and stop
Yeah.
him, and now he's holding the secret for him. He won't tell the police. He won't tell the others.
And then
even
this
though
is
they
the-
completely easily guess that's what the fuck's happened.
And then this is the other interesting thing you've got, which is one by one, William Shatner starts to realise that everyone else in his group is just gonna keep their mouth shut.
Yeah.
Even though they don't agree with what Sam Farragut's done,
Yeah.
they're going to keep their mouth shut because it can benefit their career. As we see with Terry, he actually says to him, quit the agency and be my art director for Farragut Industries.
And you can tell when he says that, he goes, me and Terry were talking, and he's no longer with the agency, he's going to be on my team. You can tell Terry's like, oh, did we have that conversation? That conversation never happened.
But he's relieved because it benefits him.
Of course. Yeah.
And I felt the film was going to delve into that more
Sure.
and have a bit of a... I guess what I'm disappointed in, and I shouldn't... Because it's an older film and films were more black and white back then. I thought there was going to be more of a temptation on William Shatner.
Sure.
Of a sort of, look, man, everyone else is giving in. You should just... And have him sort of... But he doesn't. He very much is in that, I'm the good guy, damn it.
He's the only moral man in the group.
Yeah. Even though he isn't, because he's
the
banging
one
his friend's wife.
Well,
which goes nowhere.
No,
You've got to give me that. That didn't go anywhere.
No, that's true. It suggested that only happened once as well.
See, I thought what was going to happen...
It wasn't constant. It was they slept together once. She wanted to keep going, and he was like, no.
What I personally would have done, not that I'm an amazing filmmaker, is I would have had Farragut trying to buy off Shatner.
Yeah.
I'll get you to stay at the company, or I'll do this, or I'll do that. They carry on their journey. Shatner's still refusing. So then one night while they're around the campfire, Farragut's next scheme is, okay, because this is what narcissists do.
Yeah.
Right, I need to manipulate all your friends against you.
Yeah.
So he lets slip that Shatner's banged his friend's wife. So you now turn Robert Reed's character on him.
Yeah.
And then you're almost doing...
I will admit, that's actually a really good idea. And that is potential that the film didn't explore.
I thought that was going to be like the end of the second act twist.
Right.
I didn't realise we were near the end of the film.
No. Because you say the first act was too long.
But this is the point.
The second act was so quick you didn't even see it end.
This is the thing. It's because the first act felt completely inconsequential for the most part.
Yeah.
Because it really does feel like the film doesn't start till they're on the bikes.
No, absolutely. That's a common thread with this sort of film, I think. We've said that before. There was... Which film did we watch before? It's like, it doesn't really start until this happens.
Was it Spy Kids?
I think it might be Spy Kids.
Because that really doesn't start until Antonio Banderas and Carla Gugino get kidnapped.
No. There's quite... Yeah.
An Atomic Blonde, I think, as well. Maybe.
There's probably... to be fair, that might be one of the VGMP episodes we did as well.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it doesn't really start until this happens. It's quite a common thing, because there's normally an inciting incident that starts the actual story off.
So, basically, my thoughts on Pray for the Wildcats... I'm not going to sit here and claim it's one of the worst films I've ever seen. It's not. Also, it's a TV movie, so I judge it less harshly compared to, say, a massive multi-million-dollar budgeted thingy. Obviously, I'm already not interested in bikers as it is.
Sure.
But that is the big thing. Sometimes a film doesn't go where you think it's going to go, and that's a good thing. In this case, it was a bad thing for me because I thought more was going to be made of this moral dilemma.
That's fair.
And I'd rather it not have... I suppose it always was going to, but I would rather it not have devolved into an action sequence.
Sure.
Especially... And I guess I'd rather than just kill Sam in a
have some
fiery...
justice acted against him.
Yeah. Also, I don't know, because I don't ride bikes, you ride bikes. Would a bike burst into flames? Like, I say burst into flames, this explodes like a cruise missile has hit it.
So
just from falling?
No. But I will say, so, no it wouldn't. Though what I would say on that is, I actually think that was a smart move on the film's part, for this very reason. It's very obviously a lower budget production. It's very obviously a dummy that's on the bike when they drop it off the cliff.
Yes, he's just...
Not Andy Griffith.
Yeah.
They didn't drop him off the cliff with the bike. So when it hits the ground and blows up, the explosion was a good way of hiding the dummy. So on that stake, because basically I'm giving it the pass on that because it was a low budget made for TV production. If it was a feature film that was a multi-million-dollar production, I'd be like, well, you could actually show his mangled up body, but they would not have had the budget for a decent dead puppet at the budget they had.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I give them the explosion.
Yeah.
Is that fair? I think that's fair. If you can't do a convincing... would you have hated it more having the explosion that they have or having a meat puppet that looks like a meat puppet?
See, I think you could do it. I think there's a low-budget way of doing it quite easily and it wouldn't look terrible. Wouldn't necessarily look super realistic.
Sure.
But wouldn't look terrible.
Would it have been possible in the 70s?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, so basically, still do him falling.
Yep.
Cut to William Shatner reacting, so you don't need to see the bike actually impact the floor.
Sure.
And then I would have cut down to that level, so Bill Shatner's had some time to get down there, and he runs up, and then you could do something like, honestly, just having the bike on top of him, people would buy, oh, that's crushed him under the bike. Or he's fully clothed, he's got leathers on, gloves on, he's got a helmet on. Have the fucking body laying there with the helmet on the wrong way. Like, oh shit, this dude's head's been turned fucking...
That would work really well. No, You know what? Fair play to you. That would work as well. I still like the film.
Yeah, cool.
I take it as it is. And obviously, unlike yourself, I'm not against watching biker movies in general. So I've got more of a interest in the genre than you do. So that helps. So I think that's an important distinction as well for anyone who's listening who might want to check out Pray for the Wildcats. Do you normally like biker films? If you don't, this probably won't change your mind.
No.
But if you don't mind them, or you do like them, I would recommend it. I actually think it's a good one. I do agree with you.
If you're a fan of toupees, William Shatner's rocking a killer toupee.
It is a very obvious toupee. It's more obvious than his Star Trek toupees.
Was he in toupees even by Star Trek?
Apparently so. Well, certainly by the films he would have been.
I know Sean Connery was when he was Bond.
Yeah.
He'd already pretty much gone bald by the time he played Bond.
Wow. You know when someone's balding and they, like, for example...
Unfortunately, yes, I do.
You know, Jean-Claude Van Damme, I was going to say for some reason. The guy who played Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
You know why he didn't have a wig, don't you?
Because
he refused to pay.
Oh, really? Oh. I was about to say, I was going to give a serious answer.
Sorry,
I'm sure
No, he actually did bring over a wig for the part because Gene Roddenberry was like, this guy can't be bald. It's impossible in the future to be bald. He must have a wig. So he brought over a wig.
Yeah, because they were acting like being bald was a shame. It's a good job they let him be bald, because actually that'd be one of them things where that show would be looked back on quite badly if they'd have done that.
Absolutely.
That's not a very body positivity thing, is
it was kind of weird because Gene Roddenberry was the reason. They were like, but we don't mind if he's bald. And he was like, no, he can't. Not in the future. Can't be bald. That's ridiculous. Blah, blah, blah.
So were there no balds in TOS? Absolutely no one ever.
Not
even,
human anyway.
Not even a guest actor.
Not human, no.
Right.
There was a couple of bald aliens, but that's why they were alien.
Sounds like Gene
Roddenberry
sounds like
was working through some shit.
A hair racist to me.
Yeah. But yeah, basically he wore there's actually footage of him wearing the wig for like test shots. And when they showed the test shots to Gene Roddenberry, he went, oh yeah, this guy's really good. Take that stupid wig off him though. I don't know who the hell suggested that. They're like, you. Like, that was you. But anyway, so that's an
example of a narcissistic boss.
That's kind of a big thing with Gene Roddenberry. Even people who love Star Trek and love Gene Roddenberry for Star Trek gave him the title the Great Bird of the Galaxy and stuff like that. He was not necessarily the best in his personal life. And he created quite a lot of problems later on during the runs of Star Trek he was involved in.
Yeah.
In fact, he created a big fan campaign to have Wrath of Khan cancelled before it was made.
Yeah, I remember you saying.
So, this whole stuff where we're like fans backlashing against new versions of stuff. I knew. It's been around for forever. But yeah, so Pray for the Wildcats. I'm intrigued by your view on it. I don't agree with you that it's not enjoyable necessarily, or not. But I can understand why it's not enjoyable for you.
Do you
But I do agree with your estimation of things that could have been improved. Because one of the things I loved about the film, as a biker film specifically, is that it's not just about tough nuts going, yeah, I'm on a bike, rum, 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 rum. It had an anti-capitalist bent. It was talking about narcissism within an industry. It was talking about how work takes over your life, destroys your relationships. It had a lot of that extra shit in it that you don't normally expect of a biker. Oh, you know what? I'd love to do a remake of it, and we could actually knuckle down a little bit more on those ideas that you brought forward, because I actually agree with you on them.
Yeah.
The film could be better with those things. I don't necessarily think that the film is bad without them, but I do agree with you that those would have made a really cool improvement.
Should we keep the tradition of casting usually a comedy actor as the villain?
So
Adam Sandler as the villain.
You know what? I wouldn't be against it. But I mean, Andy Griffiths at the time was mostly known for doing a comedy TV series.
Yeah, the Andy Griffith Show.
Yeah, so who does a comedy TV series now that you would put as this super serious? Could it?
Should we do Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory?
Could do Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory, or Key from Key and Peele.
Yeah.
He's bald as well.
Keegan-Michael Key, yeah.
You can.
I bet he could be sinister.
Yeah, I no doubt he can be sinister.
But yeah,
it has that kind of. It would be that if we were to recast it and we had our pick of anyone, I don't know. I think you'd have to go underdog with it to make it work.
I don't think it's a film that needs big stars in it.
No.
Especially because something like this these days, it'd go straight to Netflix. You wouldn't be looking at a cinematic release, I don't think.
No, they're not. They wouldn't be looking at going, oh, but let's put this up against the Avengers and see if it wins.
Yeah.
You know? Then again, nothing's going to beat the Avengers right now.
No. I don't know why, but I feel like this is the sort of film Josh Brolin would do good in.
Josh Brolin would be good? He's good in almost anything, though, Josh Brolin.
Yeah, I like Josh Brolin. Would you agree that the best scenes, and it's fine if you don't, obviously, the best scenes in it are those menacing scenes where he's being villainous?
Yes and no. So yes, because I agree with you, they are brilliant and they are some of the best scenes. No, because I don't think they're the only good scenes. I know you weren't a huge fan of them, but some of the profound scenes really struck me. The scene at the beginning with the doctor surgery, but mostly the scene where he tries to talk his friend Robert Reed into joining him to talk to the police.
Yeah, I liked that scene.
But there was a shot right at the end of that scene. Like, the scene itself was brilliant. You immediately got everything about the four characters as well. You had Sam chatting up the Mexicans and being like, being the center of the tension and the party all around him. You had Terry trying to join in, going, hey, yeah, living the American dream, man, and being looked at like he's a piece of shit by Sam.
But also some bitterness to him as well, because he's obviously bitter that he's now party to this.
Yeah.
The way he's sort of saying, hey, Sam, like that. I don't know if it was meant to be this or if it was just the actor's performance, but to me, it was coming across like it does. When you're pissed off at someone, but you hide it usually. But then when you have a few drinks, you can't hide it as much.
I think that's accurate.
That's why I never drink around you.
That's a lie.
I know. If you hadn't driven here today, I was going to break my 100-day streak. And
well, lucky I rode here then.
Have some drinks because I'm thirsty.
What I will say about Terry's character in that scene as well was that it's very obvious that he felt entitled. It was like, well, I'm hiding the secret for you. I should be included in your celebration, not shot away. Yeah. You could see that Robert Reed was distasteful of it, of the whole shebang. And then when he goes outside to speak to William Shatner, who is not Warren in this, he is William Shatner. No, he goes outside to talk to Warren, and they have a dialogue, and there's that scene where he's really trying to bring him along. And it's like, we'll go together, buddy. And it's like that emotional hit worked for me, as well as the arguments they had when they arrive at the next town, and they're talking in the daytime about, but basically when they call out Terry. All of the characters seem to be really well written and resolved. You knew who was who. You weren't sitting there going, I didn't really know what this character was about.
Yeah.
They were very well defined.
So, before we wrap up Pray for the Wildcats and move on to Wild Hogs, there was one part of the plot that I don't understand why it was in the film, and I wonder if maybe you saw some insight that I didn't.
Sure.
What's the point of the baby subplot?
So the baby subplot, that's an interesting one, because you're right, it kind of comes in and out very quickly. So the baby subplot is basically Terry's character. He's the young hippie guy in the business. You know, you're meant to be the young rebel with hair like that and wearing a suit like that. He's following into corporate policy even before the Baja run. He spends his time off of work painting designs for Farragut Industries and, ignoring his girlfriend. His girlfriend is trying to do everything for him, but she wants some attention, as you probably would in a relationship. And when she starts questioning him about it, he's like, "No, I'm too busy, babe. I've got all this stuff to do, all this corporate work. Why don't you take the afternoon off like you used to, and we can go, blah, blah." And then she reveals at the end of the scene that she's pregnant. And he's like, "Oh." She's like, "Well, just tell me yes or no. Do you want me to keep it?" And he does the worst answer possibly. He's just like,
That zoom in on him.
Yeah.
Oh, that zoom.
That's very 70s and very bad. Yeah, the zoom in sometimes I did in some of the scenes. Like, punctuate it with the zoom in. Dude, like, I did that in the 90s with the camera.
It's the fact that his reaction's out of time with it.
Yeah.
What that should be is and the camera comes
Dun,
in.
dun,
But
dun.
the camera goes in.
And
There's
then
a
he reacts.
full second. And then he goes...
That's not his fault. That's the cameraman. But yeah, that is stupid. But yeah, so he does this, he doesn't give her an answer before he goes. And when he gets back, he decides throughout the trip, he gets drunk and everything else. He says, I'm going to live the family life.
So is it a punishment for his indecisiveness?
I think it is, because when he's out there, and after he's witnessed what Sam Farragut does, he then gets drunk and he's like, "Hey, I'm living the American dream. I'm going to get married. I'm going to have a baby. I'm going to have 2 kids. I'm going to do this, blah, blah, blah." And then when he gets home, he's like, "Hey, babe," everyone, he's hoping it's, "Oh, welcome back. Let's have a family." And he's just like, what? He asks her about the baby, and she goes, "What? There isn't a baby anymore."
Yeah, it's too late. Yeah.
It's too late, basically. And he's like, "Oh," and so basically, I don't think she's going to stay with him either. She's lost all respect for him.
Yeah. Same with the other guy.
Yeah, so
She
Robert
says she
Reed
wants a
loses his
divorce.
wife, yeah.
If you notice, William Shatner's wife never says to him, "Oh, by the way, I know you've been banging Angie Dickinson."
Well, so, again, I think it's...
Earlier on, she says she's already knew about it.
She already knew about it, and she only knew it only happened once. So it happened once while they were drunk or something, I think.
Yeah.
But where it happened once, and it hasn't recurred, and because she loves him so much, she let it pass.
Yeah.
That's basically the reason. But I would agree that that's not great. Look for that character that she basically just rolled over and took it. Yeah. They could have done a little bit more. There could have been a bit more reconciliation on that against Bill Shatner's character when he got back from the Baja trip.
Yeah. I'm just not sure you needed that subplot at all.
I think that was so you. Yeah.
Other than just to be like, "Oh, he's not perfect."
I think that was to keep the wives in the story, because otherwise you didn't need the wives in the story.
No.
So Angie Dickinson's character had slept with Bill Shatner's character just so she could have a bit of insight that his wife didn't have, so they could have that tense bit later, which is like, "I've slept with your husband." "Yes, I know. Go fuck yourself." That was like, "Oh, okay."
Painting him sunset beige.
Sunset beige. Like
Okay.
a soul.
Well, I think that's probably it for Pray for the Wildcats.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a small pee break, and then we're going to talk about Wild Hogs. So on to Wild Hogs then. So I had seen this film before.
Yep.
A couple times. I saw it not too long after it came out originally. I didn't see it in theatres, but I saw it on DVD. And then I saw it last year. Me and you watched it.
Yep.
Because
it's brilliant.
So this is my 3rd time seeing it. I watched it late last night.
Nice.
Didn't fall asleep, so that's good.
Yep.
It's usually a good sign. I have weird feelings about this film because I recognise that it's not a great film, but I don't hate it. I've seen it 3 times. I wasn't bored any of the 3 times, which is my baseline for films. It has a couple of jokes that did make me laugh. Which was good. There were a couple that actually got me to laugh, even though this is the 3rd time I've seen the film. And there were some jokes that I recognised as being very lazy, where I was like, for example, we get two. One would have been fine.
Yeah.
But within the first 10 minutes of the movie, you get 2 William H. Macy crashes off of his bike jokes.
Yes.
Dudley, I think his character's
Dudley,
called.
yeah.
The first one is the better one.
Yeah.
Which is where he hits the real estate sign, isn't it?
Is that the one where he spins the bike and breaks it and has to ride on the back of Travolta's
No.
bike? Okay.
He then has another crash where he
That's
has to ride.
On Travolta's bike.
Yeah.
Smells like a cowboy. What was it? Cowboy lawyer.
Yeah. So, as you said, this film starts with us getting introduced to all of the characters.
One by one in individual vignettes, aren't they?
Yeah. So, Tim Allen is playing... So, they're all obviously middle-aged men. Tim Allen is playing a father who is a dentist, but does that typical thing that you always get in films where he's like, but I'm a doctor, and all the real doctors are like, no, you're a dentist.
You know what's interesting about that is dentists, they're not registered as doctors, but so there's something in Britain. There's something called the GMC, General Medical Council, which deals with doctors. But there's also one for dentists.
Yeah.
But actually, the registration process is almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
Because basically, dentists are doctors.
Of course, they're
doctors. Just for some reason we decide they're not the same.
Yeah, I know.
Even though they both do surgery on the body.
I know.
It's such a weird distinction. We've decided that dentistry and doctoring is not the same.
Yeah.
It's a fucking weird... And it's only cultural. Don't know why. It's a purely cultural distinction that we've made. Like the colour brown. That doesn't exist. But we've made it as a cultural distinction that it does exist.
Really, brown doesn't exist.
The colour brown doesn't exist. It's dark orange.
What?
Do you not know that scientifically brown does not exist?
Brown's light to black.
No, it's not. It's dark orange.
Great. Is it?
Tell me this. Have you ever seen a brown light? An actual light, like a source of light that's brown.
Oh, I see what you mean.
It's not, because brown is only looks brown to the human eye in relation to things that are darker than lighter than itself. So when you can actually do this test at home if you want to do this test. It's quite an interesting piece of science. Get MS Paint up and make two pictures. One, just to put select what you think is brown, whatever brown shade you want. Make a brown square in the middle of the page, and then surround the rest of it in white. Save that image out. Now save it out again, but this time with black instead of white. Don't change the brown. Keep the brown the same. Open up the image, full screen it, so all you can see on the screen is the image. Turn off every other light source. So all you can see is the light coming from the screen. Now, whenever you have the brown square on the white background, you will see the colour brown. When you switch to the one with the black background, you will see orange. Because brown and orange are the same colour in different contexts. It's a confusion of the cones in your eye. Right. And to put it another way, you can do this instead. Go open up a colour wheel in Photoshop or whatever art program you have and find me brown. Right. You're going to be going to dark orange. Because that's where brown is. Because that's all brown is. Brown exists in our language, but it doesn't exist in science outside of being dark orange.
Right.
So that's what I meant by that.
Okay. How did we get onto that again?
I can't remember.
So anyway, he's a middle-aged dad who is struggling to deal with the fact he's aging.
Oh, that was it. We were talking about the difference between doctors and dentists.
Oh, yeah.
It's something that exists only in culture, not in reality.
Fun fact, dentists have a really high suicide rate as a profession. That's true.
It's because everyone's scared of Jaws.
Because everyone's scared of you.
Yeah, well, imagine having a professional like, I've come to help.
Yeah.
A lollipop?
Plus they know they're not real doctors.
Hey!
And you get a few jokes where, like, his family can eat, because he's got to look after his cholesterol. So his family are eating real food, and he's eating the worst salad in human history, because it's not even a salad, it's just a plate of leaves.
Yeah, there's nothing with it. It's like, dude, you could have more than that.
John Travolta is a lawyer who's got a supermodel swimsuit girlfriend, but we find out they're actually
divorcing.
They're divorcing.
He keeps that secret from everyone, though, doesn't he? Yeah. So they think he's still got this super hot wife.
Yeah, he's lost all his big clients, so he's basically broke. And I actually do like his introduction where he's on the phone, and he's being really like cutthroat, haggling about the price, and you think he's talking to some big company or something, and then he goes onto his lawn and he's talking to the like fucking 7-year-old boy that mows his lawn,
and he's got like an acre of land that he wants the leaves.
I can't do this much for $10.
It'll take hours, and that kind of shows you how bad a lawyer he was.
Yeah,
because he can't even negotiate with the 5-year-old.
Martin Lawrence is an ex-plumber who has taken a year off
To write
a book, but hasn't written the book.
Yep.
So his wife is like, right, you've got to go back to work. We can't afford it. And this was one of the few jokes that actually did make me laugh. Was you see a day in his life at work.
Yep.
And he gets called to a convenience store to clean out a really super shitty bathroom.
Yeah, and the guy's like putting danger tape over it.
Yeah, and the guy who's on the counter says he's trying to describe to him how bad it is, and he literally says things like, "I got shot last week, but I understand you have the really bad job."
Yeah, that was it. I got shot last week. I never cry until today.
So no. So this is the one that made me lie. I saw my father die. I never cried until today. And Dudley, William H. Macy's character, is the most lovable of the bunch. He's very naive, bit of a geek. We see him in a coffee shop eyeing up a beautiful woman, and to try and show off, he starts using voice interface on his Apple Mac. On his Apple Mac. And he says alternative specs.
Yeah, I need to research alternative specs.
Specs, and it reads it as alternative sex.
And then opens up a load of
GrannyShaggers.com and a bestiality one, which I just wrote here. I don't know what this is. This is just obviously some weird immature thing I've got. Horse neighs are never not funny. Horse neighs.
Oh.
the noise a horse makes.
Yeah.
They neigh.
Sorry, when you said nays, I expected NASE, and I was like, what's that word mean?
So that did make me laugh. They're all friends. They go out. They're what's referred to as weekend warriors.
Yep.
They go out on their motorbikes at weekends, but really we get the feeling that
they don't go very far.
No, they just go around the city. And here's a joke that's a bad joke in the film. Like, it's a bad joke. Is they go on about how what's Tim Allen's character's name?
Tim? The Golden Knight? I can't remember his character's name, actually.
Bobby is Martin Lawrence.
You've got Dudley is William.
I think they're all E names, aren't they?
Yeah. Doug.
And they're like, the Wild Hogs patches were sewed by Doug's wife. And Doug sort of snaps back at John Travolta and goes, yeah, my wife made the patches. What has your wife ever made? As obviously his wife's a swimsuit model. Yeah. And Martin Lawrence, in front of John Travolta, goes, hard. Never. Let me tell you what would happen if a group of friends were together and one openly admitted to getting hard over his other friend's wife.
Well, that's their job.
They'd either get punched in the face, or they'd be like, oh, hey, yo, hey, oh, hey,
I mean, they're not all always Italian Americans, but the...
No, but you become Italian American if someone says they got a boner over your wife.
To be fair, John Travolta acts offended by this, so...
As he should.
Yeah, so it's not like the film doesn't actually pay that off somehow.
And there is one other terrible joke that I'm going to just bring up. It doesn't happen until later in the film, but I'll bring it up now so I can put my notepad down. Later on, when they're at the Del Fuego bar for the first time, and things start to go wrong, because they're going to trade Dudley that awful bike, aren't they?
Yeah.
There is an awful joke, and it's another Martin Lawrence one, where he straight up stands there and says, anyone else getting that pre-rape feeling? And one of the bikers goes, I do. It's awful. Pre-rape feeling.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yes. That was Kevin Durand, by the way, who is now in an awful lot of different stuff. He's a brilliant actor.
He's in the Resident Evil movies.
Yeah.
He's Barry Burton.
He's a brilliant actor.
He's an okay actor.
He's been in so much various stuff. He's been in the Vikings. He played a guy who pretended to be Heimdall in the series The Vikings. He had a convincing enough accent, to be fair. It's just that he's well known for schlock more than he is for... Certainly during the 2000s, he was in a lot of schlocky garbage. But he's actually quite a good actor. I wouldn't write him off just because he's been in Resident Evil and Wild Hogs.
Yeah. My big... so as I said, I don't hate this film. I quite like it, actually.
It's a good fun time.
It's mostly very fun. The cast have a good... they have a good chemistry, the cast do.
Yeah, you feel that they're friends.
Yeah, William H. Macy is the best actor in this.
He's the most experienced actor.
And Marisa Tomei as well.
Yep. She's always hot.
And a good actress.
Yes. No, I'm joking. Yeah, she's a fantastic actress.
She's Aunt May as well in the MCU. Because they keep...
Why'd you say Martha?
Because they keep making Aunt May younger. Have you noticed
Yeah,
this?
I know, yeah.
In the Sam Raimi ones...
Aunt May's going to be 12 in the next one.
I actually can't remember her name in the Sam Raimi ones. I'm so sorry. But she is, an actual granny. Like, she's old as shit.
Yeah, I remember the Sam Raimi ones.
Then in the Andrew Garfield ones, it's Sally Field from Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh, blimey.
Who's only, like, in her 50s, I think, at that point.
You sure? Because I thought she was in the
she
mid to late 30s in the 90s.
She looks like she's only in her 50s. Well, remember the Andrew Garfield ones are like 2010 and 2012 they were made, I think.
They're still the new ones to me because I haven't seen them.
And then the MCU ones, it's fucking Aunt May. And you're walking around like...
Marisa Tomei.
It's Marisa Tomei, sorry, as Aunt May.
Yeah. Debasing herself in
and
an Avengers style movie.
RDJ wants to get all up in that business.
Well, who wouldn't?
And it's like, well, to be fair, it's like, who blames you? You're going home to Gwyneth Paltrow every night, Iron Man. Yeah, Marisa Tomei versus Gwyneth Paltrow. That's an easy choice. Marisa Tomei
every time. It's not even an argument.
She doesn't have a candle that smells like a vagina.
Exactly.
Anyway, we are off topic. So here's a problem I have with the film. Is that
candle made of wax or?
Who knows? So here's a problem I have with the film that we need to talk about.
Okay.
I don't have as much of a problem with it to the point where it stops me watching the film and enjoying the film. Mm-hmm. It just makes me roll my eyes. And I believe this is what you were alluding to when you said it hasn't aged super well in some areas.
Yes.
There is a lot of gay panic in this movie.
So I want to question that because I've watched it a lot, but you watched it last night. Yeah. So you watched it with a critical eye taking notes. And you did tell me earlier that you've taken notes on how much gay panic is in it.
Yeah.
Now, I don't remember there being a lot of gay panic. I remember that obviously the gay police officer, you can't get around
the fact really obvious one.
Yeah, that's obvious gay panic. There's also a bit later in the pool, even before the gay police officer arrives again, when the four guys are swimming naked and the family come up and they're like, oh my God.
Here's the funny thing. The majority of the gay panic... And it doesn't help because he's right wing. The majority comes from Tim Allen and John Travolta. Now, I don't know, because it's not so much from Martin Lawrence as much.
No.
And William H. Macy is usually the butt of the joke when it comes to the gay panic jokes.
Right.
So, for example, I'm just going to straighten my leg out, sorry, because it's cramping.
Yeah, that's all right.
You start, the first one I think of, I might be getting these slightly in the wrong order, but he gets the rainbow tattoo of the Apple logo.
No, I'm not giving you that one. I'll tell you for why. That was the legit logo of Apple at the time.
I'm not saying that's not the logo, but their reaction to it...
That's because it was an Apple tattoo. It's not... He was like, oh, this is a cool biker tat, like it makes him hardcore. And it was the Apple logo, which is like it's corporate BS. That wasn't to do with homosexuality, because the rainbow Apple logo was actually the logo Apple was using at the time.
Was it?
Yes.
Because weren't we on to IMAX by that point?
No, because they had...
it was the plain black Apple.
No, that was later, I think, because I think this was at the time where... Certainly bear in mind that it would have been made the year prior.
2006, then.
Yeah. The Apple Macs that were in service at that point, I think, were the translucent ones with the colourful backs.
Right.
So I think they were still using the multicolour logos. That's why it didn't click for me.
Then you have how ridiculously uncomfortable John Travolta is when he's got William... Now, you might be able to tell because you're a bike rider, if this is the actual term, but when he has William H. Macy riding bitch, is that the actual term?
Yeah.
His reaction when he's like, did you just smell my neck? Don't ever smell my neck.
That's because smelling someone's neck is weird.
It's weird, but there's no need for him to go
off
like he does.
If I sniffed your neck right now and you got freaked out, you wouldn't be going, oh, that's gay.
No, that's normal behaviour for you.
No, I never sniff your neck.
You sniff my neck.
When have I ever sniffed your neck?
You poke me despite being asked repeatedly not to.
That's because you're pokeable.
No, I'm worried now that you're going to end up on charges.
I'm only joking.
Anyway.
But no, I've never sniffed your neck.
I doubt that.
Why would I sniff your neck?
So, there's loads of stuff like that where it's usually Travolta, actually. I say Tim Allen, it's usually John Travolta.
So I will say, the sniffing the neck thing, sniffing someone's neck is weird. But yeah, I'm pretty certain there's a gay panic element to that.
Yeah.
Even you can read it without it, to be fair, because it's just weird to sniff someone's neck.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty certain there's a gay panic element to that.
A lot of the attitude to William H. Macy, just because he's a sensitive character, is that sort of toxic masculine sort of, oh, you make us feel a bit uncomfortable because you're so...
Is that a problem? I ask this, honestly, I ask this genuinely.
Well, it's one of the ways in which it hasn't aged well, is what I'm saying. Because now we kind of have come to a point where we're like...
Because we do that humour all the time.
Do we?
As a society... It's been like okay. So looking at the era in which it was made, there's actually very tame on the gay panic, and on the fact and on the bullshit toxic masculinity. They even call it out at the end of the film. They call out the fact the Del Fuegos are like the hyper masculine guys, and Tim Allen's character is the one that calls them out, going, "Oh, like you think you're tough guys, but." I'm supposed to be jealous of guys whose biggest choice is, do I shit over there or do I shit over there by that bush? Do I wear sleeveless or sleeveless? Yeah. So they do call out the toxic masculinity throughout the film.
And then they can't resist going too far during the... there's a sequence that plays during the credits, isn't there? That's a parody of Extreme Home Makeover.
Yes.
And of course, we've got to have tough guy Ray Liotta fully humiliated.
But that was so funny.
By having him... Was it?
His reaction was the best. It makes me wet myself now.
Well, because he's probably like...
Yeah. Mate, so good.
But yeah. And John Travolta especially, like, when they all go skinny dipping as well. Like, everyone... again, it's Travolta's the big one. Because the rest of them are kind of like... Obviously, William H. Macy just don't... William H. Macy is the real alpha in this group, by the way.
Yeah, because he jumps in and he goes,
care.
"Oh, did you give his on? I thought we were doing this whole young and reckless sort of thing."
Yeah,
and he calls them out on their gay panic.
Well, the thing about William H. Macy, why he's the best character in it, other than being the best actor, is he is unapologetically afraid to be himself.
Yes.
Whereas Martin Lawrence is constantly kowtowed by his wife.
Yep.
Tim Allen and John Travolta are always putting on an overly masculine image.
Yes.
But William H. Macy's just like, no, this is who I am, this is what I'm like. So like I say, he just boldly walks in, clearly got nothing to hide, so clearly has a huge dong.
He's the biggest winner.
He gets Marisa Tomei.
So, again, like, the idea that this is overly hyper-toxically masculine, yeah, it does touch on those themes. It's a biker movie. But it does, A, call them out, and B, the one guy who was himself the whole fucking time is the biggest winner.
Yeah. But
and I'll be honest, I relate a lot to William H. Macy's character in this, because I am that guy, I'm always me, and people think that I'm effeminate from time to time. But fuck it.
Tattoo.
Huh?
You got an apple tattoo.
I haven't got an apple tattoo.
No, you get Sega.
I would get a Sega tattoo
on your butt cheeks.
Yeah, though certain people we know probably wouldn't ever talk to me again for having a tattoo.
Train yourself so that when you fart, you squeeze your butt cheeks in a way that it comes out. Sega. Fucker, that's explosive diarrhea there.
Yes.
Anyway, force a hard reset. What's the equivalent of Red Ring of Death for a Dreamcast?
Oh, blimey.
To get the red triangle of death?
That just resets itself when the connectors get...
No, that's what my Dreamcast... That's how my Dreamcast ended.
You can fix that.
Oh, can you? Yeah. My mum just threw it away. So anyway, and like I said, it doesn't... None of the gay panic stuff ruins the film for me anyway.
No. Is there any more than that? Because, I mean, a lot of the gay panic, again, we've already mentioned just anything to do with the gay officer and the and the skinny dipping. Those are very gay panic. The other one is getting around that.
Yeah, the other one is Kevin Durand, which is... Kevin Durand is clearly gay in the film. And all the other bikers...
they mentioned Deliverance as well, don't they?
Yeah, but he is constantly getting punched out by Ray Liotta.
Yes.
Anytime he says anything that's vaguely could even hint to the fact that character's
gay.
He
goes,
I've put their balls in my mouth.
Yeah, those hogs got some balls. I'm going to put them in my mouth and chew on them.
You're going to put what in your mouth?
Yeah, and he goes, that guy pours the beer over that guy's head at the big festival, doesn't he? He goes,
MC Gainey.
Yeah, and he's like, we don't, what's it?
When we drink piss, we drink it cold.
Yeah, that's it. You think I'm going to drink this piss warm beer? When we drink piss, we drink it cold.
Yeah.
What?
But, it is, it doesn't... offend me or anything like that. I felt like some of those jokes were tired even in 2007. They're definitely tired by now. But like I said, there's other jokes that did make me laugh. I know I shouldn't, but I do laugh when the family get in the pool and they're all naked.
Yeah,
and the dad goes, let's go dipping for crawfish.
Yeah.
And you know, like you could see it a million miles away. You know he's going to come up right in front of one of them.
Yeah.
And of course it's Travolta, isn't it?
You're right, actually. I can't think of any Tim Allen specific bits that are the gay panic. John Travolta has a lot. William H. Macy is often the butt of the joke, but again becomes the winner at the end. There isn't, even though he's cut...
And literally, because at the end, he actually... The other they reverse the joke from the beginning,
yeah,
don't
the three of them ride into a surfboard, don't they, while they're looking at booty.
Yeah.
And he's the only survivor.
It literally ends with him laughing at them.
Which is a great end.
Which I'm convinced that wasn't in the script. I'm convinced that was William H. Macy just legitimately breaking character and laughing at them.
There was an alternate ending they shot. Because they enjoyed the gay police character so much, they did an alternative ending, which is on the disc that I've got, where basically the wild hogs are riding, and as they ride through, they go a bit too fast. Oh, it's him in a
thong, I bet.
No. He's still in his uniform.
Oh, okay.
And he's sitting on his bike, and he's got one of them speed guns. And it obviously flashes up that they're too fast, and he goes, oh, thank God, thank goodness for that. And it ends with him following them up, obviously trying to chase them down. But they thought that left a bad vibe, that, basically they were going to get arrested at the end of the film. Left a bad taste in people's mouths. I like the ending they went with instead. But also, yeah, at the time it wouldn't have been so bad necessarily having Gay Cop come back, because he is a fun character. That character is hilarious. But in hindsight, with how things have moved forward, it would have been ending on a gay panic joke, which is... Gay Cop is now chasing boys down, which would certainly nowadays, if not at the time, would have left a sour taste.
But yeah,
do you think that people overblow the? Do you think people overblow the amount of gay panic that's in this film? Because I know a lot of people criticise the gay panic, and I can understand that. Certainly, where we've had so much history of gay panic in cinema and TV.
I do feel like a lot, and this is something not just with this film. I feel like it's with a lot of films. People are very guilty of making other things guilty by association.
Sure.
So a lot of people don't like Tim Allen.
Yes.
And I believe Tim Allen has made homophobic jokes in his stand-up and things like that.
Who hasn't?
And
being honest,
I think he's made homophobic comments in real life as well. And I think he's like a Trump supporter or something. But because of that...
I'm pretty certain he didn't like Trump. I know he's right-wing, but he specifically said he didn't like Trump.
Yeah. Well, my point is, I think a lot of people... because Tim Allen is in the film...
There's a lot of backlash against Tim Allen at the moment. I don't fully understand where it's coming from. Maybe I've missed something.
Yeah.
But it also seems very unfair, because there isn't any backlash against Toy Story, for example. And Tim Allen's in that.
There kind of is, actually.
Is there?
Well, there was a whole big deal about...
Is it gay panic because there's a character called Woody?
No, because he's... Tim Allen's Buzz, isn't he?
Yes.
In the Lightyear film that they did, the one that's like the Buzz Lightyear, it's not him. It's not Tim Allen, and that's why.
I think you'd have been too old to play Buzz in the Lightyear movie anyway, would he not? Because he's much older now. He played him when he was.
But they didn't even go for someone who even closely sounds to it. I think it's Chris Evans.
It's a completely different voice. Like, not even trying to sound the same.
No, I think it's Chris Evans. I could be wrong.
I thought the Lightyear movie was meant to be like the real story that the toy was based on. So it wouldn't make sense for it to have the same voice.
But apparently the reason Disney chose not to is because they're trying to end their association with him, apparently.
Oh, interesting. It's funny because he made the millions. Let's talk...
the Santa Claus movies, the Toy Story films.
Home Improvement.
Home Improvement is Disney,
ran for
isn't
8 seasons.
Well, this is what I'm saying. It's weird how it's brilliant. If you just watch the internet, it's weird how you get a different view of what's happening. Yeah. Because people would have you believe Tim Allen's the devil, blah, 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 blah. No one watches his stuff. His newest sitcom, Last Man Standing...
was very successful.
That's gone for like 8 years, I think.
Yeah, I think they just finished the 9th season. I watched that. It's all right. It's not as good as Home Improvement, and it's not as good as Wild Hogs.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but it did really solid viewing figures.
Yeah, what's weird about it is I watched it because it's a right-wing comedy. And I thought, well, I haven't watched any right-wing comedy. Usually right-wing comedy don't go together.
comedy, though, or are people just saying it is because it's got Tim Allen in it,
So
and because it is a more traditional family values sitcom?
There are a couple that... So here's the thing. For the most part, it's just a sitcom.
Yeah.
But
it's just a couple of, leftists jokes.
But it's right-wing, I suppose, in terms of the fact that the character is right-wing. One of the characters he dislikes is someone who's trying to marry one of his daughters, who is very much a left-wing hippie. But yeah, so it does have a right-wing swing to it, and there are right-wing jokes dotted throughout it. Whereas Home Improvement was never political in that way. Last Man Standing doesn't mind going into a more political vein.
Right.
It's certainly very right-leaning, but it's never like... It never gets political insofar as it's like, well, you know, Trump, good old Trump, or anything like that. Yeah. It literally just like lefties are weak hippies, but it does actually do some nice stories for the hippie guy to redeem that sort of side of it. And also Tim Allen's character is he is that alpha male over what's the word, hyper masculine sort of like, and he overcompensating, so you know, it's all about guns, you gotta have guns, you gotta, you know, and he works in a company where he sells hunting equipment and all this sort of stuff, and he's often brought down a peg by the fact that he's, you know, clearly compensating. And it's not all the time. Obviously, it varies from... Because there's 28 episodes a season. It's like a traditional sitcom in that way. But it's not that bad. It's also not that great. I'll be... Like, you know, Home Improvement, I always laugh my arse off at Home Improvement. And I always laugh at Wild Hogs.
Yeah.
There are Tim Allen properties. And Toy Story is a phenomenal franchise with him in it.
I've only seen the first one.
I've seen, weirdly, I've seen odd ones. I've seen 1, 2, and 4, but I've never seen 3. And apparently 3 is really good. 4 was not really worth it. 4 was just a reason to give people money, I think. But 3 I don't know about, but I've heard it's incredible. 1 and 2 are very good. And especially considering Toy Story 2, they wrote the whole lot, started animating it, and then lost all the work.
Yeah.
And had to restart. Like the incredible turnaround on that film is insane, and it still looks amazing for the era it was released. But either way, there seems to be a big backlash about Tim Allen. Maybe there's something going on in America, and he said or done something that we're not aware of. But I think a lot of it is because he played an openly right-wing character in a sitcom. People seem to be overly swayed by the media they consume right now, which I thought we surely should be getting fucking past.
No, we're going backwards, we're backsliding, in my opinion.
It's ridiculous. Like, okay, he is right-wing, he stated so openly. He did not support Trump. Maybe he did support Trump in a vote. Who knows? I don't know what he does in a ballot box. But I remember him saying on stage, going, I don't like this guy, I just am a Republican, so I'll vote that way. Now, I don't agree with him voting Republican because I'm not right-wing, but it's his vote. Yeah. He does what the fuck he likes with it.
We live in a world now where people can't accept that people think differently to them.
Yeah, because also, if you start doing that and going, you know what, I won't watch this film, whether it's enjoyable or not, or this series, whether it's enjoyable or not, or these classic films, I'm talking about Toy Story, not Wild Hogs with that one, whether they're enjoyable or not, because it's got this right-winger in it. And I'm going to eliminate this guy from this narrative because he's right-wing. And this is me being maybe ignorant. If he said something really outrageous and I'm unaware of it, I apologise in advance. But from what I've seen, I've not seen any of that. Yeah. And it just seems to be a case of, this guy's right-wing, I don't want him in my media. Then the problem you've got is, you have no defence when people start doing it with your left-leaning shit. And when you get all of this woke culture backlash that people are coming up against, which I disagree with for the most part. There are times where it's very obvious that they've done something for stupid reasons, just because it's a part of the zeitgeist. But for the most part, people will kick off, oh, this is woke because they've put a woman in this. So it actually makes sense for this story for a woman to be in this role.
That's right. Make the racist northern in your story.
But I know one. There's
J'accuse.
But basically, there's this whole... You can't then argue against people being counter-woke, quote-unquote, if you're going to be, quote-unquote, woke by cancelling things you like because they've got a right-winger in them. bear in mind, Tim Allen hasn't actually done anything akin to something like Jimmy Savile or anything like that.
Well,
You're not
even going that bad. Not as far as I'm aware, not as bad as like Mel Gibson. And we've kind of all forgiven Mel Gibson. We're nominating him for Oscars again and shit.
It's fucking weird who gets forgiveness and as when, because we had this with I was the guy who sung "I Believe I Can Fly." R. Kelly. R. Kelly was done for.
Please do not say you want us to forgive R. Kelly.
No. No, what I find weird is he did get forgiven. He was arrested for doing naughty things with underage people.
Got off of it.
And then by the time Space Jam came out, he released "I Believe I Can Fly" and did loads of really amazing. They were amazing music ballads, and people were like, "Oh, R. Kelly, yeah, amazing musician again." You know. And it was all wiped away. There was an odd few comments here and there, but for the most part, wiped away. Brilliant, wonderful R. Kelly. He's back with his amazing music. And then he just did it again. And again and again and again. And now he's been trashed again. And hopefully he won't make a comeback this time.
He's gone to jail this time, hasn't he?
Yeah, but the point is...
Mark Wahlberg's an example. Mark Wahlberg, beat someone nearly to death.
Yeah, in a racially based attack in the early 90s.
Yeah. But no one bats an eyelid.
Yeah, because he's not, I suppose because he's not political anymore. Obviously the attack might have been, but that's a long time ago, and he's not political, so people give that a pass.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying
we are not the arbiters of morality.
No, and whether or not you think that you should accept that and move on, or whether you think that they've committed a particular act or crime or held a particular view, and they should never be welcomed back, or you should never appreciate their art again, that's going to be something people make up on an independent one-by-one basis. But it just seems to be at the moment there's a lot of push for specific people to get people are accepting people who've done bad shit in the past. Until it comes out again, out in the wash. But they won't forgive others because they're the other type. In this case, Tim Allen. He's right-wing, we can't forgive that.
Yeah.
He did a crime, did you not know, 20 years ago, where he dolled people in, when he sold dope.
Yeah.
All right.
He's in Hollywood, who isn't doing dope.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, mate, that was, I think, late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
Between that point, he's done his whole stand-up routine. He's done all of Home Improvement. He's done all the Toy Story films. He's done all the Santa Claus films. He's done Last Man Standing. I think at this point, you could probably push a little bit away from that crime. He's not recurred, I don't believe.
Yeah.
So what's the problem? Oh, he voted Republican.
So there's a really weird third act in this film where it stops being a road movie. Where they end up in the town of Madrid.
Yes.
This is where we're introduced to Marisa Tomei.
Yes.
And William H. Macy really likes her, and this all leads to the showdown with the Del Fuegos. And this is all perfectly serviceable. Nothing in this film jumps out for me. There's nothing exceptional in it. There's also...
Soundtrack's exceptional.
Nothing terrible. Yeah, I did like the soundtrack. There's also nothing terrible. For me, this is a perfect example of a cookie cutter, perfectly enjoyable American comedy.
Yep.
It's not ever going to make my list of 10 best comedies ever made or anything like that.
Interesting. Okay.
But it's got moments I like, usually around William H. Macy. I like when he goes into the diner to confront the Del Fuegos and he throws the tire iron through the window and he goes, "Can we just pretend you guys did that?"
Because it's Marisa Tomei's
diner, yeah. And also when him and Martin Lawrence are going to fight the two bikers, Kevin Durand and the little Asian one, and he makes them swap so he can fight the Asian one.
Yeah, because the Asian guy's really short.
Yeah,
and
then
he swap over.
Yeah, then he rips his clothes off and he's literally jacked to the gills.
This guy's so ripped,
and he's doing backflips and stuff like that. And he's just swap back, swap back, swap back. I do want to give a shout out to a supporting actor in this film. Stephen Tobolowsky is in this movie as the Sheriff of Madrid.
Yes.
The completely ineffectual Sheriff of Madrid who doesn't even wield guns because they accidentally shot their own deputy's ear off.
Yes. I got my license for handguns from playing Doom on the internet.
Oh yeah, they just told us to play level 12 of Doom.
Yeah.
I have a lot of time for Stephen Tobolowsky. He is a supporting character in one of my favourite shows of all time, Californication.
Okay.
Which is definitely one of my top 10 shows of all time.
Yeah.
Probably top 3. I love Californication. It's so funny. He plays a movie producer called Stu Beggs.
Right.
Who looks like Stephen Tobolowsky, so he's a bit schlubby, got a bit of a beer gut, bold on the top, but has a giant cock. Like, that's like his character. Like, everyone knows he's got this giant dick. And it's so weird seeing this schlubby middle-aged man. Whenever he talks about it, he's like so confident about it, but then everything else he's like really schlubby. And he's a movie producer who tries to help Hank make his movies.
Nice.
He's
good in it. He's very good.
I believe he's in Garfield as well. I'm pretty sure he's the villain in Garfield, but the less said about Garfield, the better.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't have been his high point, no matter which way you swing it. Yes, so I've seen him in something else before. He was quite fat in this film, but he's actually, like, I saw him in something where he was a lot thinner.
He's quite tall, I think, as well. I think he's like 6'4" or something.
I was in Groundhog Day. He was in Spaceballs. He's doing quite a lot of stuff, actually.
Because after they have the big fight, he literally turns to his deputies, doesn't he, and says, that was like level 12 of Doom.
Yeah, well, yeah. He's in Scooby-Doo, Shaggy's Showdown.
Scooby-Dooby-Doo. Anyway,
So
how do you feel? Because one of the criticisms I've heard of this film, and I'm wondering how you feel about it, so I'm sure you will disagree, a certain cameo happens at the end of this film.
Yes.
And some people feel that is this actor tarnishing their legacy.
That's because those people are dumbasses.
Do you want to tell the audience about the cameo?
So the cameo, I'll get the name up.
Peter Fonda.
Yeah, so the reason he's in the movie, in this one cameo right at the end, is because he is a legend within biker movies.
His most famous role is Easy Rider.
Yeah. He wasn't in the sequel. There is a sequel to Easy Rider.
The Journey Home, isn't it?
It's fucking garbage.
Yeah, I've always heard it's terrible.
And what's weird
I haven't seen Easy Rider 1 either, but I'm pretty sure I'll hate it. I do want to watch it at some point, but
it's got
knowing
Jack Nicholson
in it, and it's produced by Roger Corman, I think.
It's a good
film,
film, but
knowing how they made it makes me think it will be terrible.
So,
They dropped a load of LSD.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Easy Rider. It's a good film. It's a great biker film, which is another thing that won't sell it to you. Is it's a great biker film. The problem
it's sharks on bikes.
Yeah, the big problem I have with it has a similar problem to a Japanese film called Burst City. In that, they were doing lots of drugs while filming it, and clearly at one point either ran out of money or ran out of drugs. Ran out of drugs or ran out of giving a shit. Because there's a point towards the end of the movie where the film builds the whole way, and then they just do like 10 minutes of them fucking around a graveyard while off their nut on drugs, doing literally nothing for 10 minutes, and then they move on going, oh, we got no money. So you had like 10 grand or something a minute ago. Like, where did that all go? And there's apparently extra money in the guy's fuel tank that's never brought up again. So there's actually a plot hole there in the story. And there's things like that. So I watched Easy Rider. I still enjoyed it. I see why it was so beloved for the time. And actually, Easy Rider is the reason why certain other films got made.
Yeah.
Including a film I really love. What's the name of that sci-fi film where the guy's trying to save the plants?
The Happening?
No. From the 70s.
Soylent Green?
No.
I don't know what you're on about.
Silent Running.
Running.
The film Silent Running. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Silent Running is a 70s film that got made. There was a slate of 5 films that were made because of Easy Rider. Easy Rider was a low-budget film that they expected to go nowhere and was an unexpected massive hit. So the company decided to fund low-budget filmmakers to make a low-budget production. to see if it would make the same sort of big return on investment. Because even though it didn't make like the same sort of multi-billions that they'd expect from a film, because the budget was so low, its budget versus its reward was insane. It was stratospheric. So basically, what ended up happening was they funded these 5 films, and Silent Running was one of them. Silent Running is a sci-fi film set on these spaceships, where the crew have the last remaining plants from Earth, because Earth has basically been devastated, and they're in communication with Earth, flying around Jupiter, waiting to come back to replant everything and keep the last living piece of plant life alive. And then they get told to destroy the lot. There's no plant life left on Earth, and then someone on Earth goes, "Yeah, we've decided it's not worth the project. Just destroy the lot." So, and it's weird as well, because it's a Universal film. It's like, and I don't mean the company, I mean Universal as in the age rating. It's for everyone. But with this storyline, where the guy decides, well, I've got to save the plant, so he murders the rest of his crew. I was like, that's got to be at least a PG, right? Nope. He murders the rest of his crew so that he can keep the plant life going. But because he starts, basically, there's the threat that they're going to be destroyed, and there's 2 ships with 2 plant bays. He saves one ship by destroying himself in the other. It's a brilliant film, brilliant piece of very small sci-fi, very low budget. And that got made because of Easy Rider.
Okay.
So Easy Rider was a very good film for its time, but there are flaws with it that are endemic to the way that the filmmaking process was on that movie. There's a plot hole, there's this, I've mentioned it. So that would be an interesting one to do, but I think you've probably had your fill of biker movies for the time being, Jamie.
2 in one day.
Yeah, I suppose. But 2 very different ones.
Yeah.
Wild Hogs is, for me, a very good film. Again, I'm not saying it's a classic of cinema, but I tell you what, it does go on my top 10 of comedies.
Yeah.
Yeah, fairly easily, and I'll tell you...
Better or worse than Dodgeball?
Ooh.
I've got to be Team Dodgeball on this.
You know what? I think, in general, Dodgeball is probably the better choice for most people. For me, personally, it's still probably Wild Hogs.
Right.
Because I love... there's something about this film I just really enjoy.
Yeah.
But I will admit, I think some of that is the bikerness of it, which, if you're not a biker, won't sell itself to you. It's definitely something that, for you, like, I have no doubt that Team Dodgeball would be on your team. Dodgeball also be in my top 10.
Yeah, which is ironic, because I usually can't stand sports movies either.
Yeah, same.
But Dodgeball, I really like Dodgeball.
Yeah, and you actually liked Wild Hogs, even though you don't generally like biker movies. So that's why, for me, it has to be at least an above average comedy. For me, it's more than that. But the fact that it's been stuck to like 11% doesn't ring true to me. Yeah. I think I've met one person out of multiple different people from different walks of life that I've shown Wild Hogs to, some of which, like yourself, have literally less than 0 interest in biker movies or anything bike related, who still enjoyed this film. Yeah. So I'm like, well, it seems to be hitting all the right notes with the vast majority of people I know. So long as they're not on the internet to read how much people hate Tim Allen. Yeah. I'm like, that to me says more than the 11% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is easily swayed by bullshit. And also, let's be clear, this is also somewhere where critics would pan it because it's a comedy movie with older male actors. I'm gonna go off on one on this, to be honest. This has been unfairly brutalised because of the cast. Not just because people don't like Tim Allen, but because it's a comedy film, made for older men. Older white men, generally.
Oh, I'm not sure.
And I think that's one of the reasons it's brutalised.
I'm not sure I necessarily agree with that.
It's not a teen movie.
I will admit, most bikers do tend to be older white men. Now I think about it.
So it's going for the right audience. It knows its audience, and it's heading that way.
Yeah. But because there are other comedies with older male leads that do get well regarded.
Like what? That's all, like, that's specifically an all male cast.
Well, so to be fair, I don't know if this is all male because I've never seen it. Okay. I just know it's incredibly well received critically. Is a show called Curb Your Enthusiasm.
I've never seen it either.
The main guy's in like his 60s.
Right, I don't know that one.
Also,
but I don't think that's all male.
there was another very good show that was all the leads were male. It's not an all-male cast, but all the leads were male.
Right.
There's a really good show on Netflix called... Oh my God, I can't believe I'm forgetting it. And it's really good. I was going to recommend it to you. I'm just going to have to Google the name very quickly. I'm sorry. Because I really enjoyed it.
Because there is a real thing of, even if it's not the maleness of it, though I think that probably doesn't help, there is a thing where people slam any comedies that are made for older audiences. Comedies generally, for some reason in the zeitgeist right now, they have to be aimed at younger audiences.
I think it depends as well, because you got to see... I think that's an American thing as well, because in Britain you had a whole wave of very successful... Around this time, actually, of Wild Hogs, you had a whole wave of very successful older person focused comedies that had people like Helen Mirren, Maggie Smith in them.
Like Red.
No, British films. So I'm talking much lower budget than Red as well. So things like Calendar Girls and things like that.
Right.
And Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, I think it's called.
Yeah, Exotic Marigold Hotel is a little bit different because it's a Wes Anderson movie.
That might not be the one I'm on about then.
I'm pretty certain that's a... Oh, maybe I'm thinking of... No, I might be thinking of the wrong film.
Are you thinking of Grand Budapest Hotel?
I am thinking of Grand Budapest.
Yeah. That's a good film, though.
Honestly, that is a very good film.
But yeah, there was a whole wave of those in Britain. But I do feel like in Britain, compared to America, we don't mind films with older people. No. I'm gonna go. You got Star Trek, and I'm about to get Doctor Who in.
Yeah, let's do it.
I remember when they announced Peter Capaldi as Doctor Who, and I watched loads of reaction videos, and there was loads of videos of Americans being like, "Why is he so old?" And it's like, well, if you knew anything about Doctor Who, you'd know most of the early Doctors were old. Not that I think he was 55 when he was Doctor Who. Like, that's not even that old. Like, fuck off. Yeah. There is an obsession with being young and beautiful in America. I've just looked up the name of that show, The Kominsky Method.
Oh, I've seen it.
You've seen it?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, I really like the Kominsky Method. It's a shame it falls apart a bit in the last season.
It does.
Because Alan Arkin chose to leave the show.
Yeah.
I think due to his age, actually. I think he was struggling to keep up with the schedule, I think was the reason.
Probably.
But that, at least for its first two seasons,
it's
definitely.
Brilliant. Yeah.
It's Michael Douglas, Alan Arkin, and then they add... Paul Reiser into it as well, don't they? From Aliens.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all older men. I really liked the Kominsky Method. I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, but in general, like, again, those are what you'd consider left-leaning comedies. Whereas anything that's traditionally biker, focused on middle America, sort of older male, generally won't get the look in, and we've seen the results of that. People slagging it off over literally nothing the film has done wrong. Tim Allen said this once off screen.
There are some people who just don't find it funny, I guess.
Yeah. No, that's the same with any comedy. You could name the best comedy ever in your opinion. There'll be someone out there that thinks it's garbage, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. It's when the percentage is so badly skewed that you know that it's not there legitimately.
I think where that comes from is I don't think that's necessarily just comedy. I think that comes from a certain type of film that is designed to be a lowest common denominator film. I.e., it's meant to have broad mass market appeal. And let's be honest, most film critics and film students like us are up their own arse.
Yes.
And they want to come across seeming smarter, more intelligent, more higher class than they are.
So they'll slag off anything that's dependable and glossy because it's not too challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then they'll sit there and praise a film like Another Earth that isn't actually made very well.
Yeah. And they'll gloss over all the badly made parts of a film if they think it will allow them to sniff enough of their own farts that they feel that they're superior. This happens a lot in film dialogue, and I think it ruins film dialogue because people come across feeling not genuine.
Yeah, I agree. I talk to some people sometimes, and obviously you can totally like whatever film you want to like.
Sure.
But there are some times where you talk to someone and they're talking about this film, and you're listening to them going, "I can tell you don't actually like this film."
Yeah.
From the way you're talking about it,
Yeah.
you just feel like you should.
Yeah, I mean, I feel I should like Goodfellas.
I feel I should like Stanley Kubrick, but I don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
The films of his I've seen so far, the best one is The Shining, and the book was better.
Okay.
Like, he missed the point of the book in his adaptation.
I think he invented a different point. But yeah, I take your point
Yeah.
on that,
And-
which is if you're going to do an adaptation, it's not an accurate adaptation if you're making your own point.
And I don't
haven't read the book, but I do like Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, though.
And I don't respect the way he makes films,
Okay.
is my thing. I know this...
It's wasteful, isn't it?
Yeah, there's this weird trend with... And it's honestly my two biggest annoyances with indie filmmakers is when they try to be Tarantino...
Yep, because he was indie at least.
Or when they sit there and they'll be like, yes, I want to do 50 takes of this shot because Kubrick and people like Kubrick and David Fincher does this as well.
Yeah.
They'll do hundreds, but they've got millions of studio dollars behind them.
Yep.
Okay? At a certain point, the shot's not going to get any better.
Yeah.
So you either have to accept the shot you've got, or you have to go back to the drawing board and rethink your shots.
Slim Pickens is a big thing with that as well. Like, so he was in Doctor Strangelove. He's the American
rides the bomb,
pilot.
doesn't
Yeah,
he?
he rides the bomb. Yeehaw! That famous shot. Brilliant shot, by the way. I think it's great. But he said he'd never work with Kubrick again, and he never did. Even though Kubrick did ask him to do a couple of films afterwards, he refused. Because that one shot, for example, he said he did about 120 takes of him just riding a bomb going, yeah, and screaming, to the point he burnt his throat out.
Yeah.
And he said at the end of it, when I watched it in cinema, I think they used take 2.
Yeah.
And it's like, and also, how many takes, do you really think there's 120 different ways of doing yeehaw on the back of a bomb? Of course not. It was just it's self-indulgence at the highest level, actually to the detriment of the actor's throat, which is his job. He needs that throat in order to speak, in order to do his role.
Yeah.
So I can understand Slim Pickens not wanting to work with
Yeah.
Kubrick again after that. There is a self-indulgence that we consider to be higher art, even if it's not.
Yeah.
Self-indulgence does not equal art. And I think it's a shame that we seem to be in a culture that suspects that it is.
Yeah.
To be fair, Wild Hogs is never up its own arse. It knows exactly what it is. It puts that on the table, and it serves it up beautifully.
Yeah, that's true.
Visually, it looks great. The sound design in this film is one of the best I've heard for a long time.
Yeah.
Like the actual surround sound activity with the bikes and things like that, it's amazingly well done. And that's stuff that's technical. I understand that's not artistic.
Yeah.
But at some point you look at it and you go, what is the big beef? Artistically, you can have your opinions, but on a technical level, everything in this film works.
Yeah.
On a technical level. So all we're arguing about is the artistic level. You can't say it looks like shit, because it doesn't. You can't say it sounds like shit, because it doesn't. So all you can talk about is plot beats, which it hits pretty well. It's a pretty standard 3-act structure. The characterizations, which are pretty well fleshed out for, the screen time they have. So all you've got left is whether or not you enjoy the humour. And a lot of the answers as to do you enjoy the humour, people who have actually watched it, that I know who've watched it, have said, yes, I like the humour, with one exception, to be clear.
Yeah.
And most people online don't even say they don't like the humour. They just go, I don't like Tim Allen.
Yeah.
Or it's stupid because it's old men on bikes. Well, go fuck yourself.
Which makes me feel weird because they're not even old in this. They're in what? They're late 40s, early 50s?
Yeah. But that's them past their prime because they're not, would this film be any different if you put Chris Pratt, Chris Evans
now, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. If
you know what? They could definitely do, as a marketing tactic, you could definitely do a Wild Hogs remake with the 4 Hollywood Chris's in it.
Yeah.
Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pratt, and Chris... the one who's in Star Trek, he's Captain Kirk.
Oh, Chris Pine.
Because they refer to them as the Hollywood Chris's, don't they?
Yeah.
You should totally do a Wild Hogs remake where it's all 4 Chris's.
Yes, the 4 Cs. You know what? No, they should put them guys into the second dodgeball. The Four Season Dodgeball.
Yeah, I can't believe they're doing another dodgeball.
That is a bad choice.
It's a bad choice. It's a stupid
Dodgeball
choice.
was a lucky accident and a perfect movie.
Yeah, it was a flash in the pan.
Yeah, you cannot remake that lightning in a bottle. Certainly not without fucking Rip Torn.
Yeah.
And at the moment, it looks like there's no Ben Stiller.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but no one was watching Dodgeball for Peter LaFleur.
Ben Stiller is the MVP of that film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without
Nobody
him,
makes me bleed my own blood.
you're real freaking naughty.
Anyway, I think we've wrapped
maxed
it
that
up
out,
there.
haven't we?
You feel like you've adequately defended Wild Hogs?
I think so. At least I've made my point where I have yet to see any legitimate enough reason why Wild Hogs deserves its 11% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Do you think we've convinced anyone to give it a second chance?
I hope so. I hope people do give it another chance and be a bit more open-minded on it. Because, yeah, again, I'm not saying it's going to rock your world, but it will be an enjoyable bit of time.
Yeah.
You will enjoy yourself, and it's well made. In general. What if you had to watch one of them again?
Wild Hogs.
Straight away, proves my point.
Yeah, I mean, Wild Hogs. I will watch again at some point.
Yeah.
Probably like 10 years from now. But I will watch Wild Hogs again at some point.
Yeah.
Whereas I'll probably never watch Pray for the Wildcats again.
It's interesting as well because Pray for the Wildcats at least tries to tackle some interesting themes. Whether or not it gets there 100% is a different matter, but it is an interesting film that tackles interesting themes in a way that someone who would prefer a more pretentious movie would be able to enjoy more than Wild Hogs, because there's nothing pretentious in Wild Hogs. There is in Pray for the Wildcats, but Wild Hogs is more enjoyable.
Yeah.
As a rewatch, you could rewatch Wild Hogs 3 nights in a row if you wanted to. Still kind of enjoy it, though no one should do that with any film, really. You couldn't do that with Pray for the Wildcats. No. It's too slow-paced. But it's a good one to watch now and then for its pacing and its thought-provoking themes. But yeah, maybe we should You up for remaking Pray for the Wildcats?
We've got a lot of other stuff to do first.
Yeah.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank
William
you for joining
Shatner's
us.
still alive. We can dumped him.
Thank you for joining us for this special bumper-length birthday special. Happy birthday, Rory.
Thank you.
And we will see you next time on Second Take Cinema.